Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, British MPs vote to decriminalise abortion in England and Wales, making it the biggest change in reproductive rights in almost 60 years. Also, how statistics are revealing a preference for boys is declining rapidly, especially in regions where it used to be the strongest. I'll be talking shortly to Swedish sociologist Lisa Eklund. And how an artist studio in southern Morocco is providing crucial paid employment to local women who create collaborative works of textile art. But first, and in the UK, MPs have voted in favour of a legislative amendment that should decriminalise abortion in England and Wales and stop any woman from facing criminal charges if she chooses to end her pregnancy. It comes after growing calls for a change to what was seen as a massively outdated law, with the number of women investigated, arrested or prosecuted increasing in recent years. Olivia Salazar-Winspear tells us more.
It's the biggest change to reproductive rights in the UK since the 1967 Abortion Act.
The ayes to the right, 379. The noes to the left, 137. So the ayes have it, unlock!
Yeah. British MPs have voted to decriminalise abortion for women in England and Wales, meaning that if they terminate a pregnancy outside of the legal framework, they cannot be arrested or go to prison.
I'm really pleased, but obviously, the debate has been quite, toxic, and it's all been very difficult, and there's been a lot of opposition.
In recent years, there's been an uptick in women being investigated for unlawful abortions. Police made around 100 requests for medical records over the last 5 years. 60 criminal cases were launched, and 6 women had to appear in court. That increase in criminal cases is linked to women having access to home abortion medication, which doctors began prescribing during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of those supporting this change to the law say the judicial and emotional ordeal those women went through was of no benefit to anyone.
This is something that we've been campaigning for many years. This vote today will put an end to the horrendous police investigations many women in this country have been undergoing in recent years for suspected illegal abortions.
Despite this amendment, the protocol for access to an abortion remains the same. It is legal up until the 24th week of pregnancy, and after that only in case of danger to the mother. It also requires the signature of 2 doctors. Hailed as a progressive move by many, the UK follows France in revisiting its reproductive rights. Paris enshrined the right to terminate a pregnancy into the French constitution last year, interpreted by many as a reaction to the rollback of the Roe versus Wade legislation in the US, which led to extreme limitations on abortions in certain states.
Staying in the UK, and decades after the fictional James Bond film series even had a female boss, Britain's MI6 is now going to be led by a woman for the first time in the Foreign Intelligence Service's 116-year history. Blaise Metroelli will become the 18th chief of the organisation. She said she was both proud and honoured to accept the job, with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer describing the appointment as historic. Now, for decades, we've known that having baby boys was far more preferred to baby girls in many parts of the world, even more so in developing nations. But the tide is turning. A recent article in The Economist studying demographic trends has revealed more and more parents appear to prefer girls to boys. To talk about why, I'm joined by Lisa Eklund, a sociologist from Lund University in Sweden. Lisa, thank you so much for your time. Why the growing desire to have daughters?
The desire comes basically from one major shift, I would say, if you look at it from a global perspective. And that is that the meaning of having a child, the value of having a child has gradually shifted from being a matter of labour supply, of having children who will help make a living, to support livelihoods, helping to support aging parents at old age, towards something much more related to emotions and the need and the desire to have a child for personal and more emotional reasons, not for economic reasons.
It certainly is that Indian proverb, isn't it? You know, with a daughter you have for life, but you only have a son until he takes a wife.
That's right. So it's that kind of reasoning, that the daughter is closer to you, she's more emotionally attached, and she is somebody who you have close to you throughout your life, more than a son would be. But that also reflects another shift that has taken place in China and in India and other parts of the world, where there has been this very strong sense of wanting a son, relatively speaking. And that is also the significance of patrilineality, which means that family life is organized along the male side of the family. So having a son is very important for passing on the family line, for taking over the farm or the business. And it's the man who gets married and who wants to, with his wife, looks after the parents at old age.
And as you mentioned there, Lisa, it comes after a long historical preference for baby boys, especially in countries such as China and India, where the event of ultrasounds led to widespread termination of girl fetuses, which itself had massive demographic consequences, such as a drop in the number of marriageable women.
That's right. And in fact, this is also a driving force, I would say, for daughter preference, because since men have difficulties finding a wife due to this shortage of women, there is this increasing trend of female hypergamy, which means that women marry up socioeconomically, and for men to be able to attract the wife, then he needs to be economically successful, often supporting a house, having a car, etc., which means that it's extremely expensive to raise a son who can become marriageable. So some families in China rather don't have a son, which we sometimes refer to as son aversion. So the daughter preference is in fact a reaction to son aversion, which is sort of based in this very expensive endeavor of raising a son who can become marriageable and form a family, which is very important in a country like China.
How does the trend compare between richer countries and emerging nations?
I mean, in the richer countries, there has been a trend towards daughter preference for a long time. And it's basically manifests itself through parents who have already boys opting for a second or third or a fourth child to have a baby girl. And in Asian countries, in China, for example, the daughter preference so far is more of a stated preference. So there's not a lot of evidence showing that daughter preference actually leads to certain types of behavior, demographically speaking.
But where does this leave governments in attempting to readdress demographic imbalances? I mean, we've already seen what can happen, as was the case with China's one-child policy.
Well, I think it all boils down to gender equality, actually. And I mean, both son preference and daughter preference are rooted in an idea that sons and daughters are fundamentally different and are valued differently and can contribute differently to their parents. And so I think that it's a very big question of gender equality. And I think that what we are seeing in the world right now with gender polarization and the gender gap widening, I think we need to understand this emergence of daughter preference in light of these sort of gender polarization that is happening. So I think if governments are worried about daughter preference or the persistence of son preference, by the way, because that has not gone away even though it has dropped. If governments are serious about this, I think gender equality is really a very big, needs to be on top of the policy agenda for a long time in the future, I think.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
To Morocco now, where just 19% of women hold steady jobs. But in a small fishing village on the Atlantic coast, an artist is doing her part to provide paid employment to local women. Eliza Herbert has the story.
When Khadija Awilat first began work at an embroidery studio in southern Morocco, some people in the village called the project nonsense and said that women should stay at home. Now she says she is proud to have been part of a small but pivotal change in her community.
I feel like I've helped a lot of people and contributed to the development of our village. In practical terms, this involves 10 women and therefore 10 households. Some of them are the financial pillars of their families.
The studio was founded in 2022 by French-Moroccan artist Margot Derry, whose practice combines painting, sewing and traditional embroidery. She wanted to explore her family's heritage in her father's native village, while also fostering local economic empowerment through the creation of contemporary art. So she hired a group of single, divorced or widowed women to collaborate in the creative process.
It's a project that came about really naturally, without any pressure from either side. There was a desire to work together. There was also a desire to emancipate ourselves through art. All the women now have a monthly salary, so whatever happens, every month, every woman gets paid.
Each work is inspired by photos of Margot's family taken in Morocco in the 1960s. Then the team chooses the colours and threads. The studio has also served as a place of solidarity and dialogue. The hope is that it will inspire future generations.
And that's it for this edition, so until our next show, bye for now.